Hey guys, welcome back to the makeup chair. I'm so excited to be back with another Monday makeup lesson. This time we are on chapter 3 of my book, and chapter 3 is all about foundation. So I talk about how to figure out your undertone, whether you want to use a cool, warm or neutral undertone foundation, how to pick the shade, but we are actually focusing today on how to apply foundation. So head to page 24 and 25 and follow along with it, and let's get started. I'm so excited. So start by applying some moisturizer. This is going to give your makeup something to hold on to. Apply that all over your face and then blend it up your neck as well. Allow your moisturizer to sink in and then apply your primer. Not everybody needs a primer, sometimes a moisturizer will do, but it does help your makeup last longer for a special occasion. If you want more information about moisturizing and primers, check the video right here. You only need a small amount of primer, especially if you're using it over a moisturizer. Some primers can actually be used by themselves without a moisturizer. But I find it's just a good idea to keep to your regular skincare routine and then just apply a primer as an extra step. The next step is to correct your skin. This isn't using concealer, this is using correctors. So I have a pink tone that I'm going to use underneath my eyes and a yellow tone that I'm going to use on any of this redness, especially around the nose and on blemishes. Just going to use a concealer brush, pick up a little bit of product. Correctors are just a great way to start off your foundation routine. This will just make sure that your foundation doesn't have to do as much work because you've already corrected underneath the foundation. Now it's time to apply foundation. Make sure you've chosen one that works with your skin type, your undertone, and your shade. Apply the foundation onto the back of your hand and spread it out evenly, then dip your brush into the product. You only want to coat the very tips of the bristles. The white tips of the bristles are for applying and the darker bristles are there for blending. Pick up a small amount of product at a time and work in little sections. I start from the center of my face and blend outwards. It depends on where you need coverage. For the majority of women, we need coverage in the center part of our faces where we have discoloration due to mostly hormones. On the rest of the skin, however, if you have blemishes along here or across your forehead, you can apply your foundation there first. It just depends on where you need the most coverage. I'm using a stippling motion and this will create little pixels all over the skin. Because there's so many bristles on this brush and because it's so dense, it can literally stand by itself, it will just create 1,000 million little pixels all over the skin, which will give that really full coverage but still flawlessly airbrush look to the skin. And this stippling motion is very similar to like a woodpecker motion. So if you don't know what stippling is, it's this bouncing and lifting off the skin, very similar to what a woodpecker does on a tree. As you build up the coverage that you need and there's less product on the brush, you can then blend out towards the hairline and then down the neck as well. You also want to be careful around the brows because anywhere that has hair will just hold on to that pigment. So you just want to make sure there's very little on the brush when you go around those areas. But don't forget to get right up into the hairline. Just use whatever's left over on the brush or even brush off most of the product on the back of your hand or onto your wrist and then go into the hairline as well. And blending down your neck is really important as well. You want to make sure that there's no telltale sign where you applied foundation. You want it all to be seamless and flawless. And I also like to go over my eyelids. Don't worry if it gets onto your lashes because you can just apply some mascara to get rid of it. Once you've finished applying your foundation, allow it to settle on the skin for just a couple of minutes. Then you can decide whether you need more coverage using a concealer or whether you need to blend a little bit more. So I think I have the coverage that I need, but if there was any blemishes that were still showing through, I would go in with my concealer. Apply your concealer, allow it to settle, and then apply just a touch of foundation over the top to create that seamless effect again. And the final step in the foundation routine is to set it in place, and this is so important to make sure that it lasts for you. There's two ways you can do it. Using a setting spray, which is great for anyone who doesn't like using powder and just wants to have that healthy glow to their skin. It's a very natural finish too. But I would recommend using just a little bit of powder just underneath the eyes because otherwise your concealer can crease. And I prefer using powders on my skin. Personally, I use a foundation powder, so this will give me a little bit extra coverage, but it'll also give me a flawless finish. When you're using a powder, there's so many different ways to apply it. You can use a large powder brush to get sheer coverage, a smaller one if you want concentrated coverage. You can use a sponge, a powder puff. It's totally up to yourself. There's two things you need to remember when using a powder is one, make sure you have no creases because otherwise you'll set the creases in place. And the second thing is to make sure your skin isn't too wet because otherwise the foundation will just cling on to one area and you won't get that nice blend. Apply a little bit of powder at a time and I'm just bouncing it off and on the skin and this will just set my makeup in place. And that's how to apply foundation step by step. I hope this helped you guys out. Definitely check out chapter 3 because I go into a lot more detail in there. Finish off with the rest of your makeup, and I will see you guys on Wednesday for another video. But next Monday makeup lesson, we're going to be talking about face shapes, and I'm so excited because I love this chapter. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Minimizer, but then I have kind of a little bit dryness on the rest of my skin and it can look a little bit dull sometimes. Most women, we actually have it around our noses for hormonal reasons. You can use a concealer brush, your fingers, or a damp sponge. I find your fingers is great because